Yeah, so probably a bit of a non-traditional path into the world of working with dealers. So I was building software for leasing companies, and that company got quite big, and I thought, not sure, maybe I want to do something different. So I left and then found myself managing an electric fleet, and I obviously knew what was going on with residual values from my time in leasing and all these electric cars getting their residual values hit. And battery issues was something we had to contend with. And when you're running an operational business, having issues like that is just fundamental, right? So I started to think about batteries and how important they were going to be, because I knew that the battery can be half of the value of the car. And we just said, look, there's got to be a way so anyone can assess the condition of an electric car battery, and they know like the remaining warranty, the real range that car will do under different scenarios. So you don't need to be a trained technician. It's just a super simple process with like an app on your phone. It takes like a minute or two, and then we give you a certificate. So that's in a nutshell what we do and who we are.
Greetings, fellow legends of the motor trade. Whether you're hunting down missing logbooks or chasing customers who vanish mid-part exchange conversation, welcome back to DealerPod, the podcast built by dealers for other like-minded car dealers. Each week, we sit down with some of the names of the biggest motor trade veterans in the industry, new disruptors to small startups as well, to find out exactly what's working right now, what's changing, and how you can use those insights to grow your own dealership. My name is Stephen Douglas, alongside Scott Sibley and Martin Carr, and today's podcast is sponsored by Dealerway, the UK's fastest growing dealer-to-dealer platform, connecting trusted traders all over the country. Before we get started, make sure that you smash that like button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We drop new ones each week. All right, let's get straight into it. This is This Week in the Motor Trade.
This Week in the Motor Trade, brought to you by AutoGrab.
This Week in the Motor Trade, sponsored by our partners AutoGrab. I've personally been using AutoGrab myself for now about 7 or 8 months now. It's helping me buy a lot of stock direct from the general public, from private listings, all in one platform that I otherwise probably would have missed because I would have to keep jumping over to different platforms, alerts us when there's cars that I've entered me filters, and it's been a bit of a game-changing tool for me in my business. I know Scott buys a lot of stock from there as well, so really, really, really good. Make sure you check that out. And if you'd like to know more, just have a look on the YouTube description below and click the link through to their site. And if you sign up using that link and mention DealerPod, you'll get a huge 25% off your first 3-month subscription. Okay, this week in the motor trade, guys. What's happening? December. Christmas is nearly upon us.
Happy December.
Happy December.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's just a typical December, isn't it? It just goes off a bit. I think we've, I know we always talk about numbers and how many cars we've sold. It's always a bit of I know people talk about profit, but numbers is vanity or something like that, or whatever they say. But it gives you a bit of a feel on how many customers are coming, I suppose. So I think we've done like mid-30s. It's the 11th. Like 38 or something like that. So I think, to be fair, we're probably in a good position, but we've got like obviously next week and some of the week after.
So what are you on? 38?
38.
Out of a stock of how many?
I checked yesterday, about 270, but there's quite a lot in prep still. So availables maybe is about 200.
So I normally stock around 60 to 70. We've currently got around 42 cars up for sale because we've been a little bit busy and we're kind of really replace cars at the minute, and we're on 26.
Yeah, but that's the budget, isn't it?
So that doesn't make you look good though, Scott, does it really? You know, the size of me compared to you.
The only thing I would say about that is
you're floundering.
No, I think there's a lot more rats around.
I was say, no, to be fair, Scott, yeah. the budget happened last week though, didn't it? So yeah, all the finance people who sit at home get more money.
And also for the subprime market, the budget was announced and I thought, actually, I can spend that extra money or whatever on a car. So I think it's turned the tap on for you, George, where the people who are like who are non in that situation are probably waiting until after Christmas like they normally do. So we've been stocking up with lots of cars. So although we haven't sold a lot, it's partly the planning, because what I want to do is stock up for January, probably put 150 into January. And then you go into, February and you need to obviously replace them. And then December, if we do out of those stocks, say we do another, 60 or 70 this month, we're not really replacing them this month. So we could end up having a bit of a stock shortage going into January, which we didn't want. Mm-hmm. But we're still buying cars. The lads are out collecting cars this week. I think we're bringing in about 20. I bought 2 from the auction yesterday. What a sinner.
Right.
Yeah. I bought 2 from there. So I was happy the ones I bought, they came cheaper than what I had for them. So that was good.
I'm struggling to buy cars again. I mean, I feel like I'm saying that all the time, constantly. I just feel like this year has been a constant struggle to buy cars, but we've been selling a lot of cars and I'm just struggling to replace them with cars that have got enough margin in that we would want, like, you know, and getting them through prep. It's the same old, isn't it? But like, I'm looking outside the pitch and it looks like we've been robbed. There's just empty space everywhere. I'm desperate for cars.
We're seeing that people want more money for their cars these days.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm on Dealerway every day. I'm on Motorway every day. I'm on CarWow every day, and I know our business is Dealerway, and it doesn't sound great that that I can't buy cars off it at the moment. But I just think it's general across the board. It's just really, really difficult to acquire used cars at the minute. It's just. I'm hoping that in January everything just kicks off and goes ballistic. But then, like you say, it becomes even harder to buy those cars because everyone's trying to get them, aren't they? And the prices go up a little bit. But I'm 20, 30 cars behind where I need to be having in stock. And then I know in the back of my mind that I probably should be like 10 to 20 up because I can't buy the cars in January. So starting to worry a little bit about it, really. Need to just get some more cars bought. But then you sit and think to yourself, well, do I work for less money? Just to fill the pitch and pad the numbers up.
I think they're working for less money, and that when they're buying them, it's just gambling, isn't it? And you get a car back and the prep bill's huge and you end up working for nothing. So you win on some. But it's I just don't think it's good business anymore. I think
very big gamble.
It's very tough. I think this year's been tough for a lot of dealers. I know there's a dealer just went bump. Big main dealer, 3 sites, family business. They've just
Skoda dealer, wasn't it? Who was that?
Yeah, it was like Leeds way or somewhere, was it?
I think it was Doncaster, wasn't it? The Skoda site.
Yes.
Skoda and VW.
Yeah. So I think there'll be a lot more of that happening because I think as far as the business model goes, it just doesn't stack up. It's just it's just tough. It's very tough. We did one the other day when which was interesting. We had the body shop was rammed. And the valeters didn't have enough cars to valet, so they were running out of cars. So 7 valeters with nothing to clean. That's a problem, where you've got to keep everything spinning. So we give them 15 cars, which were in the paint line. So they might have had like a couple of chips on the bonnets or a couple of little stone chips on the front bumpers and so on. So good enough to get valeted, get photographed and get on the pitch. And then if somebody wanted to buy the car and they said, oh, look, I'll buy it if you paint that or whatever, we'll do it. And all 15 cars bar 1 sold. None of them came back to the body shop. So the learning thing there was, are we over prepping the cars to our standard? Are we doing too much prep? So when you add up all the prep there on 15 cars, it's into the thousands, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we're not going to like change our standards, but I think I'm going to start and keep a closer eye on what we're actually doing. Because I bought cars, everybody's bought cars from main dealers and things like that over the years, and you look at this, stone chips on the bonnets and things like that, and you think, oh, bloody hell, we're the main dealer, we're expecting some different kind of standard when the main dealers can be the same or even less.
I think you find that you're the same. I used to think that. I used to think, everything's, like perfect at main dealers and what have you. But I drove past a main dealer a few weeks ago and where was I? I wasn't in Newcastle. I was somewhere in the country somewhere. And I forget now, but I drove past and I had like cars up for $39.99. Like 62 plate cars in a main dealer. I'm thinking, what's going on? Yeah. Crazy that.
I bought my X5, one of them M50 things, I don't know, years ago, about 5 years ago. And that was a main dealer, Chester, I think it was, BMW. And there were stone chips, nasty stone chips touched in on the bonnet. And the car was like 50 grand, so it wasn't like, cheap as they say. And then when I got it back, the lads were taking the piss because it had like New Chinese tyres on. And they thought it was all hilarious. And so I actually took it around a Silverlink and I said, look, is this right? Is this BMW standard? And they said, yeah, as long as the same brand's on the same axle. Yeah. That's the standard of BMW. So the tyre was like, 60 quid on a 50 grand car. But they said, no, that's BMW standard. That works. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I bought another one not so long after Jane had the brain tumour. She was in recovery and I thought, I'll buy a car so she can sit in the back, just relax. And I thought, I'll get a 7 Series. So I bought a 7 Series from BMW. And on the way back, the car's like got a bit of a wobble. I thought, this car's wobbling here. So I rang the salesman and I said, look, this car's shaking here. And he's like, he wasn't that bothered because I think he's quite new to the job. So he was like, I'll give her a ring. But the service was terrible. So anyway, in the finish, I said to Ben, I says, should we pull this in the workshop? And he said, well, no, it's under manufacturer warranty. He said, we'll just put it into BMW. So we put it into BMW in Newcastle. The dealer hadn't forgot to MOT it.
Hadn't forgot MOT?
No, they'd forgot to do the MOT. It must have been just coming on to 3 years. And he says, put it into there. So I told him about the wheels. So when it went in for the wheels and the checks and whatever, I said, can you check the wheels because they've got a wobble? And I says, they're either faulty tyres or there's a buckle on the wheel. Anyway, he gives the car back and he said, no, the wheels are totally fine. No problem with the wheels whatsoever. So when I drove it back there to here, car's still shaking. So I'm thinking, well, how have they checked this right? So I pulled into my workshop, got the wheels off, put it on the balancer, did a video, sent it to BMW, back the guy who I spoke with, and you could see all the wheels was on the balancer like that. All 4 wheels were buckled. And that was main dealer. So they hadn't checked it down there. I put it into another main dealer in Newcastle, told him about it, who then hadn't checked it. And then I sent him the video of the wheels where you could see it on the balancer, and he just says, oh shit, sorry about that. And I said, you said you checked these? And he was like, well, yeah, it must have been a different BMW on the ramp. I've got confused.
Jesus.
So I sent the car. I did the customer rejection thing, and I sent the dealer down there, says, come and get us and just send us money back.
Absolute screamer.
Yeah, says, I'll just have my money back. I'm not bothered. And then I reckon to get the money back must have took 2 months. 2 months.
Mental.
Whereas one of our customers would be screaming down the phone at me every day, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
For that.
I was just saying, I just says I don't want it. It's within a month. Your son's it's faulty. I says, just come and kill it. And I'll go and I'll move on. I says, no problem, no hard feelings, just crack on, you know. So, but I waited for months. And I sold them an M4 years ago as well. That was BMW at Testo's Roundabout. Which one? That would have been Martin at the time.
Virtue.
It was a Virtue, yeah.
Would have been Coopers at the time.
Coopers at the time. And I sold them the car, and I think that took about 2 months to get paid for. I chased them. I reckon they'd sold the car and got the money in before they actually had to pay me.
Right. Yeah.
Terrible if you're going to sell a car to them. Well, then, back in the day.
I think everyone knows that you've just got too much money, that's the thing.
Well, I don't think so.
He doesn't need that.
Scotty, have you ever thought about owning an EV car?
Well, my new car is EV in a way. So it's a hybrid, so it has got the battery on, which it does 50 miles on pure electric. And I really like the car. Out of all the Range Rover Sports and Range Rovers I've had, that's the best one. Just the way it drives and the way it moves, and it doesn't really go through the gears, and it's I really like it. Yeah, it's a pity the range wasn't any better, but it's all right. Yeah, and we've just bought a Model Y. We've got one in today. It's the first Model Y we've just had.
Well, obviously, my missus has got a Model Y, and I do think they're good cars, to be fair.
Yeah, we bought the sub in Morpeth, and the lads just went and got it there before. It looks nice.
No, obviously, Martin, you drive an EV as well, don't you? And just with this news that's come out very recently from the budget about them, you know, charging was it 3 pence a mile?
3p per mile.
And
She hasn't got a clue how she's going to do it, man.
What do we think about this 3p thing? Do you think it's going to end up 6 pence and then 20 pence?
Never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
I'm not sure it's going to happen yet. I don't know how they're going to monitor it. How would they monitor it?
Yeah, there's no rollout. There's no. She didn't even realise that your EVs didn't have an MOT for 3 years.
Yeah, she couldn't answer the question when she was asked.
So she didn't know how she was going to keep track of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's bad, isn't it?
You mean what's going to happen? Obviously Ollie will come in on this, but the Motability scheme, who's going to be paying for that one? Your taxi drivers who are doing 30,000 miles a year on EVs, who's paying for their, you know what I mean? Who's paying for their stuff? The government cars, it hasn't been thought about at all. Are you going to get stopped at the Tyne Tunnel and go, right, what's your mileage, please? Unless
they've known about this for years and they've built some sort of tracking software built into these EV cars to be actuated and started at 2028 when it starts, and they'll know instantly. Possible.
It's possible. I mean, you've got it already in like pretty much every car that you've just mentioned. They'll have communication with the manufacturer.
So there you go. Might come from that. Don't know. We'll see. In today's competitive used car market, staying ahead means finding the right stock at the right price every time. I use AutoGrab to do exactly that. With endless listings and constant market shifts, it's tough to know what's worth chasing, but AutoGrab cuts through the noise. Their platform shows me where the value is, lets me filter for high margin stock, and alerts me when the right cars hit the market. If you want better margins and smarter sourcing, head to autograb.co.uk today. Make sure you mention DealerPod when signing up to get 25% off your first 3-month subscription. So today's guest is the co-founder behind a company called Generational. Now they're targeting a big trust issue in the used EV market with proper battery testing, or battery health testing rather. He's helping dealers sell electric cars with confidence, and I'm excited to hear his take on things all EV. I'm really pleased to have him on the podcast, and really pleased to welcome Mr. Oliver Phillpott. Hiya, Ollie, mate. How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. And
Our pleasure.
happy to try and share some insights and thoughts.
Some wisdom.
Yeah. I don't know about wisdom, but I'll do my best. Yeah. No, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great. So Oliver, obviously welcome to DealerPod. So what's your story? How did you end up in the EV and like this sort of world in the first place? And just tell us a bit about yourself and your company, you know.
Yeah, so probably a bit of a non-traditional path into the world of working with dealers, really. Like, but I started out, so I was like a software guy, right? I started out as a building software for leasing companies. So like the company I work for, they sold software to, like, you know, Mercedes-Benz Financial Services, Toyota Financial Services, companies like that, right? And so I was always pretty automotive focused. And that company got quite big, and, like, you know, it was a UK company, and like went through an IPO at the time, which was pretty exciting. I mean, I didn't really benefit from it, but, like, you know, going through that as an employee is, like, you know, is a fun journey. Then it got quite big, and I thought, not sure, maybe I want to do something different. So I left and then spent some time in a couple of startups and found myself managing an electric fleet. And this was also like the sort of, I don't know how much you sort of follow the world of startups, but this was like just post COVID, and like there was lots of like investor money going into a lot of these businesses. It was all growing like really quickly and stuff. So I found myself managing this electric fleet, and I obviously knew what was going on with residual values from you know, my time in leasing, and all these electric cars getting their residual values hit. And battery issues was something we had to contend with, right? Like, we were working with early generation EVs, and when you're running an operational business, like having issues like that is just fundamental, right? Like, so I sort of was starting to think about batteries and like the fact how important they were going to be, because I knew that, you know, an electric car, the battery can be half of the value of the car in some cases, right? And then I met my co-founder, Russian, who had this amazing experience from his time at Red Bull Racing. And we just sort of together, you know, said, look, there's got to be a way so anyone, anywhere can super easily, super quickly assess the condition of an electric car battery. Because we sort of thought, like, you know, when it comes to electric cars, like the health of the battery is probably going to be like the new mileage. So that was the beginning, really, and we started the business in 2023, and then we've also been lucky with timing, I guess. Like, it's just been growth from there, particularly like the last 6 months. So we currently work with like about a third of the biggest 30 dealer groups in the UK, but all the way down from like PLC groups down to like, there's a guy down the road from me who like sells cars out of his parents' like backyard, basically. So all sorts of customers, and like, it's been a friendly journey, actually. Like, one thing I didn't anticipate is like quite how like collaborative a lot of the dealers are out there, like helping each other out, and like just it's been a like really nice environment to work in, and we've been fortunate that like we've had a load of partners, and we've also benefited from, like, I guess, a bit of luck. I can't escape that as well. So that's where we are today. Basically, we help dealers with a super fast, super easy way, so anyone can assess the condition of an electric car battery, and they know like health of the battery, the remaining warranty, the real range that car will do under different scenarios. So you don't need to be a trained technician. It's just a super simple process with like an app on your phone, a little dongle that plugs into the diagnostic port of the car. It takes like a minute or two, and then we give you a certificate. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do, and who we are.
Great. Obviously, I want to delve into your company and the processes, and how you can help dealers in a little bit. But just keen to get your thoughts really on the, like the state of the EV market as it is. Like, how would you describe it? What's like the reality versus the headlines?
Yeah, so I haven't looked for a couple of weeks, but I think the last time I checked, there were about 40,000 EVs for sale on Auto Trader, and like this time last year, I think it was about 22,000, right? So you're seeing like there's a lot of used stock coming off leases, right? I think like we talk about the government, like a lot of incentives still going on new cars, and that has meant that there's this. There's a lot of electric cars on Southsack on the balance sheet of the leasing companies, right? And the government hasn't done anything for the used market, right? So you've got all this stock starting to hit the used market, and at the moment, I think it's probably fair to say that like there's a little bit of an imbalance in terms of supply and demand, right? Because when you push a lot of product in at new, then and you don't do much to support the used market, I think that's kind of where we are. But my sense is, I don't know, but keen to hear from you guys that like when we first started the business, there are a lot of dealers who would say, look, I'm not stocking an EV. I don't need the headache, right? And now actually what you're saying, like it's hard to fill your forecourt unless you are stocking EVs, and it's getting harder and harder, right? So like it's just, even though like the majority of independents still aren't stocking them, it's harder to do business without it. It's harder to avoid. So my sense is the market, there's a lot of product out there, probably a bit of imbalance in supply and demand. But I do think now like the conversation has changed a little bit in terms of the consumer side. So I think people do, it's interesting what you said, Scott, around your Range Rover, right? Like I think people talk about the benefits of electric car in a different way than they did a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it was all about like, it's greener and like we're all going net zero. Actually now, like there are people who will, it's pretty mainstream, right? It's like that they'll say it's quiet, it accelerates like, really smoothly. It's nice to drive. There's packed with new tech. My wife likes it because she never has to go to a petrol station. There's actually a whole load of other ways of looking at it that I think are becoming more mainstream. So we're seeing more of that in the market as well.
Do you not think, obviously everyone used to talk about when they first came out about the range anxiety, am I going to get it from A to B if I'm doing long journeys and what have you? But do you not think the real issue now is the resale anxiety around the cars? Like people worrying what the car is going to be worth if at the end of that, because they're going to probably more than likely take it out on some sort of finance agreement. What's it going to be worth at the end of it? I think
it's so my parents, right, have always like bought a secondhand car and like driven it into the ground, right? Like they were just that kind of family. And so I bought a used EV probably 18 months ago, and I own it, and I've lost, I get it, you get it valued, right? Like just thinking about it. And it has come down in value quite a lot, right? So I know that like if I do sell it, I might take it. And I think also people are thinking about, what condition will the battery be in? They're thinking about all the new product that's coming onto market, right? All the Chinese product that is also hitting the values of all the other brands. So I think there is like definitely a bit of anxiety around that, and not just range anxiety, right? And then you've then got the government doing things like sticking 3p per mile on a tax, and it does generate a little bit of negative sentiment. So yeah, it is something that I think is on people's minds.
Well, it's not just that though. It's like I say, the 3p a mile is the second sort of raid on EVs this year. The first one was when it went from free tax to £190 in April. Everyone who had them, you got hit with it. You got hit with your tax bill, whether you liked it or not. That was like you say, the first raid. But it's interesting you say about the used incentives in the marketplace about the residual. I mean, I was reading an article saying that so ICE cars from brand new, an ICE car will have sort of a 50% residual value in sort of the 3-year period. against an EV car, which is about 60 to 65% residual knockoff. So there is definitely anxiety there, and there probably does need to be something to support the used car network with an EV grant. I mean, again, going back to the new car one, the Renault 5 became available at 3,750 off. Was it last week or the week before? And overnight, Renault turned the 0% finance off and put the finance rate to 6.9. The car was exactly the same price, monthly payment wise, but the car then qualified for a £3,750 grant.
Can you imagine if customers got like an EV grant for a used car? Every car dealer would just want to fill that forecourt with EVs, wouldn't it?
Right. That's the thing. It's coming. I mean, if you think back since COVID, manufacturers have been pushed into making hybrids and making electric cars. Most manufacturers don't do diesel anymore; they only do petrol, and they're getting phased out. And it's going to come to a point when the cycle comes round where you're going to find the traditional ICE cars are harder and harder to get a hold of, and you're going to get more hybrids and more electric cars coming through.
It doesn't have to be like a grant though, right? Like the government could do something like guarantee some of the values of used stock. So something that might be cheaper for the government that would also help like just balance the market out a little bit. Yeah, exactly. I think there's ideas like that would be cheaper.
Do you not think, like, especially in the used area, because I mean, I always see like a customer who buys a new car against a customer who buys maybe like a $5,000 to $15,000 car is a total different type of person. And do you think like the manufacturers have done enough to educate the people on like how an EV battery car actually works? Or they just left it us to clear up the confusion? Because I speak to a lot of people about my wife's Tesla, and the amount of questions I get asked all the time. I mean, I can't even answer them all, to be fair, but it's just nobody seems educated about like what an EV car actually is.
I reckon the part of it though is that I think there are traditional used car buyers who are looking at new stock because of like all the incentives. So I think that is happening, right? Like they're like, oh look, I can get this, basically if you're getting on Salsac, right? Like, and you're not, it's just such good value. I think there are people doing that like through their company, and I think that's happening a lot. I think when you hit the used market, the job of the dealer now is becoming so hard, right? Because you've got the super educated buyer who like comes in and wants to know every like question, and like has got super specific stuff, and you've got a team of busy people, right? And they've like stock flowing through the business all the time. And at the same time, you've got people who are just like that sort of like early majority of people, right? Who are maybe thinking, just had a hybrid and think actually maybe like I can charge at home. I might get a full EV, right? Or it's just, they hadn't considered it before. And they're not like, into knowing every fine detail of the tech spec. So I think having to cater for all of that, because it has sort of been left up to the dealers, is a tough job right now. Yeah.
Ollie, can I ask as well? That when the dealers do the plug-in and it prints out the certificate, do you get that data as well, or does the data just stay with the dealer?
We can see it. So like, it's stored on our database. So if you ever need to like re-access a certificate or anything like that, then we have it. So I can tell you sort of like what the sort of typical battery degradation looks like across, different makes, models, or just generally like across the market.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So typically, it depends on how the car's been used, right? So, have you rapid charged the car all the time, or stored it at 100%, or cycled it up and down from 100 to 0 and back down a lot, right? Like, right. Or all these sort of things can cause slightly faster degradation of the batteries. But I think the key thing to say is that like these car batteries are performing much better than people expect, right? I think a lot of people compare it to their iPhone, and they think, after 3 years, like it's going to be, I'm not going to be able to, like my phone will die at like 4:30 p.m. now, right? At the end of the day, if I'm only using it. But like a car's battery, on average, we see about 2% a year degradation. But that varies on how the vehicle's been used. And what you see is that, like, if we did a bit of research when we started the business, and people essentially value a car without a known battery health similarly to one with a battery health in the mid 70s of percent. So the point is that, like, people sort of priced in that risk, or they sort of worry about it a little bit. But the vast majority of results we see are coming out well in the 80s and 90s and percent. So, like, you know, really for the story, I think for people is one of reassurance, right? Like, about 0.8% of the vehicles we've ever tested come in with a battery health below 80%. So they're all pretty good. Yeah.
Are there any brands in particular for, you know, like used car dealers, us lot, where you've probably been asked this 1,000 times, which ones are the ones where you say, you couldn't give me one of them, or every time, you know, the data's shown that little Peugeot.
Ollie's hiding behind his pillow now. He's like,
The dealers they're gonna switch off now, these main dealers, if you say the wrong thing.
What Scott's asking is, what is the electric equivalent of a 1 litre Fiesta EcoBoom automatic?
Or an Ingenium.
Yeah. Or an Ingenium.
I've got to be careful that I don't get like a letter on my doorstep from a manufacturer or something.
You can tell us off air, you know, if you don't like that question.
No, you need to tell the dealers listening what not to buy.
I think it's pretty well known that, like, for example, some of the early generation Nissan Leafs, without some of the same like cooling technology, degrade a bit faster. I wouldn't say there's like one brand that is like better than all the others. It hasn't really come out that way. Like, we don't see any obvious trend, because as well, like, there's different batteries in the different models, and they're like, you know, really the usage profile is quite different. So we've sort of steered away from, like, you know, publishing a ranking. And also, it's like, I think you've got to watch out for sort of telling people that just because they buy this model of car, like, you know, the battery won't degrade, right? Like, it's a sort of it's a chemical fact, and really it depends on how you use the car. But in the vast majority of cases, it's much better than people expect, right? Like, these batteries are performing really well, and you're not going to lose much range, right? If you're buying a used EV. So
maybe because obviously, you know, we hear the horror stories and that, and, you know, that we're talking about BMW before, and where they'll say they've got, I think we had a guest on the other week and he was talking about BMWs and had lines of them what they couldn't fix. It's maybe not the battery at fault. It's probably the control units, what's controlling the car and the battery, which is failing, and not necessarily the battery. Would that be right? Or do you think would a battery just have a total fail?
Could be. It's all relatively rare, right? Like, the trouble is that when it does happen, it's expensive, right? Like, you know, replacing a cell, you'd be in thousands of pounds, like, or a cell or a module, right? Like, and then there's the question of, like, the repair networks then the supply chain for a lot of the stuff is still not as mature as it could be, right? Which might mean that it takes takes some time. And then, you know, your insurer's got to potentially give you a backup car and all that sort of stuff. So, like, you know, generally speaking, so I was at an IMDA event last week, and I think there was a warranty company there, and a gentleman there said that they had warranties on 7,000 EVs, and they hadn't had any battery related claims, which is pretty compelling, right? But the thing is that when you do get them, like, they're fairly expensive, right? So you just want to know, like, before you take that car in, like, what the condition of the battery is. Yeah.
Well, that's traditionally what's put me off stocking any or trying any. Just thinking, like, bloody hell, if the only thing that can really go wrong with this car is the battery, what if I buy this car and it needs, you know, the battery's goosed and it's going to cost us 78 grand to replace, or even more, you know, and that sort of held me off from. I mean, the market that I'm in, you know, the prices haven't really been further down the line enough really for me to enter the sort of EV space, but they're getting there now, and I've been like, do I not? And that's the sort of thing that's been holding us off, thinking I don't know enough about them.
Model 3s must be getting close to where you retail at them now.
Well, they are, and again, that's a car that I thought about. Do I start buying a few of them? Because I think would sell them, but then I'm thinking, well, they're going to be probably up in the miles. How bad are the batteries on them? Like, am I going to be lumbered with them if they go wrong? I just don't know. And you're just not. I'm so used to petrol and diesel cars, and I know about them. And it's the unknown, isn't it?
An interesting one for you would be to consider. So across all the cars we test, we see that generally age has a slightly higher impact on the degradation of battery than mileage. So like a lot of our customers have been doing really great business in the last 4 or 5 months on relatively young, slightly higher mileage EVs, because so just like loosening that stock criteria a little bit, because essentially I think it was triggered by there were a load of taxis that came off a fleet, right, and got sold, and like I had customers who were buying up like Volkswagen ID4s like by the bucket load, right, and they were pretty high mileage, but in an EV there's not many moving parts, right? So like actually, if you know that the battery's in good condition, some of these ID4s were like 80,000-90,000 miles, some 100 plus, and some of them were like sub 10 grand. And if you sell that with a battery check, it looks like, and you can see that the battery's in good condition. It looks like insanely good value. It's so much car for the money. And they were just like flying off the forecourt. So it's an interesting, like, especially whilst like today, the valuation companies haven't quite caught up. Yeah. So like we're talking to the sort of, the cap HPIs of the world and things like that, because they're all interested in how to update the value of vehicles based on the condition of the battery. But right now, like, it hasn't quite happened yet. So there's this sort of arbitrage opportunity where these relatively young, high mileage EVs with like a battery in a good condition just look like such a good deal.
No, I could see that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Just where on the subject of that, in terms of servicing, I mean, there's rumor out there that EVs don't get serviced or maintained in the same manner as what a petrol or diesel does, and because there is no moving parts, as you say. But it's such an impact on the warranty side of stuff that people don't realise, and because people have got these on short-term leases, they're like, oh well, it's not my problem, it's someone else's. Is there anything in place, or do you know about that sort of looks after that side of stuff?
So we were thinking about like putting some content out about this actually, because like it is important, right? So the manufacturers will generally warrant the health of the battery down to the most typical warranty you see is down to 70% after 8 years or 100,000 miles, right? Whichever comes first, right? However, like with any product, right, you need to use it within reasonable parameters in order for that warranty to be valid. Now, and generally, one of the terms, or like it always is, that you need a full service history, right? Like you need to keep up with the servicing requirements of that vehicle. I've looked through the terms and conditions of different manufacturer warranties, and they're not all like completely the same, right? So you do need to do some due diligence as to the terms and conditions for your car. But generally speaking, like if it's got a full service history, that's really the main thing you care about, because you do want that manufacturer warranty to be valid, unless you want to buy an extended warranty on the battery.
Quick message from our sponsors, Dealerway. Attention DealerPod listeners, do you want a better, quicker, more profitable way of trading out of your part exchanges or overage stock? List your cars on Dealerway today and connect with over 2,000 vetted trade buyers actively looking for vehicles. No hidden fees, no hassle. Start your own custom auctions from your desk or the palm of your hand in our game-changing app. Or advertise your stock on quick, easy, buy it now listens to our eager buyers who are waiting to quickly acquire vehicles. What are you waiting for? Join Dealerway today at dealerway.co.uk and streamline your disposals. Ollie, how do you see like the EV battery health impacting part exchange values over the next few years? Like, are we heading for a world where a part X is won and lost based on the battery score?
I think it's an important factor for a dealer to take into account, right? Because so one of our customers tests all the batteries in their cars, and they ended up taking on a car on a part exchange that it just slipped through the net, right? It didn't get tested. Busy dealership, like stuff happens, you know? And that car had about 40% state of health, right, in the battery. That's very low and pretty rare, but that then becomes quite hard to sell, right? Like I think it would only do about 35 miles on a full charge. And that's, it's an anomaly, but you've got to sell a lot of cars to make up for the cost of, of the money you might lose there. So I think it's an important sense check for a part exchange. I think will it, we're a little way off for, having a pricing tool taking into account the condition of the battery, but like it is, what I can say from our customers is starting to happen informally, but a lot of them also, where I'm seeing it is setting a kind of a minimum retail threshold, right? So we've got some of our customers, the most common one I see is at 80%. So they would say, look, we'll retail anything above 80. And if it comes in a bit below that, then maybe we'll push it to trade instead of have a potential headache of selling it to a customer. And that obviously has an impact on the part exchange value because it has an impact on how much margin you make on the car. So the market's evolving, to be honest. We're not yet at that stage where you can put the reg in, and instead of the mileage, you could also put in the capacity of the battery, the health of the battery, and get an updated value. It's still a little bit more informal than that, but it's definitely, hopefully those examples show you that it is happening. Yeah.
Like your likes of Autotrader and Motors and CarWow and all these aggregators and platforms. Do you ever think it's going to get to a point where they come to the likes of you guys and go, right, this dealer, Redgate Lodge, has put this registration number in, and it automatically populates from the data you've got from this was the last time it was checked, this was the last time it was checked, this was its percentage on the battery. So the dealer's not manipulating that in any fact. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever think that's going to come to a point where,
like almost on like a motor check or a HPI report?
Yeah. So like when it's HPI'd, it's got the last time it was checked on the battery health, and not just for that, but when
I think that's coming.
Your dealer portal.
I think that's coming.
Yeah, when you've got a part exchange, you put in a dealer portal, and you see last year it was battery checked. You know what I mean, for whatever reason, and it's had 90%. You've got a bit more faith in the valuation on the vehicle.
And now all of a sudden it's got 99%. You think, oh, what's going on here? Is it wrapping up now?
Yeah, it's a clone battery.
See that, couldn't you? I was going to mention you can see it sort of heading down. Like imagine Autotrader, where on like another platform, CarWow or whatever, and you'd had filters for battery health, so you couldn't put your car on Autotrader unless it had, or it fed the information, like you see it direct, Martin, and you could filter out, well, I only want to see cars above 85% battery health.
Powerful buying.
And when you think about it, if you fast forward 15, 20 years and every car on the road, let's say it's possibly electric, it's a better way for a customer, and probably for us, to be fair, to know whether you're buying a better car or not. Because at the minute, really, mechanical engine, unless you know anything about them, you haven't got a clue really if the car's good or not. But
it's a bit like a 12-month MOT, Stephen. So you'd have a 12-month battery health check. So it might be an annual battery health check what gets done. Possibly. So when you sell a car, comes with a 12-month battery health check and a 12-month MOT.
But the fact that you know exactly what's in the battery as well, it'll just make people, because it stands to reason, doesn't it? You're looking for a new car, and every car's an electric car. You want to get the one with the most the best battery health. It's like, you wouldn't go on Gumtree to buy a second-hand phone if it had 30% battery life. You just wouldn't have it, would you? And
if the car was 100 quid somewhere else, but it was 7% battery higher, you'd go with 100 quid.
Yeah, you probably would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will not affect car prices, that, wouldn't it? If it gets to that point. You'd think.
Can I ask you a question? You know, if a battery, say it was at 70%, and that's obviously degraded, would that 70% battery start and degrade faster? Like a car depreciation, it falls off a cliff and then it slows down. Once it hits 70%, is it falling off a cliff then?
Yeah, so there's what's called a knee point, and a lot of this comes out of mostly the sort of the academic research, right, or the OEMs who have got vehicles and they're sort of like cycling them in their testing environments, because honestly, there's not been, or the cars that are out there on the roads, right, that are now that age, there's not a huge body of them, right, or they tend to be the early generation EVs, but a lot of the research suggests that there is this thing called a knee point, basically, where the battery will start to degrade faster. In terms of like the body of vehicles out there on the roads right now, I think we're not in the main, we're really not at that stage yet. And the other point is that generally speaking, I think the wisdom is like the end of a battery's first life in the car would be considered to be around 70%, right? And then, but the point is about an electric car is that actually that battery is still useful to, you have companies who are starting to start up, right? Like buying up batteries from cars and turning them into basically big batteries, and they'll sell energy back to the grid, right? Like putting them all together. So that will still have a value, even once it's had its first life in the car.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Ollie, let's get into what you've actually built, your company. Just say I'm a dealer, which I am, and I've taken in a used Tesla. Walk me through exactly what I would do with your kit from start to finish.
Yeah, sure. So you have a little diagnostic tool, so a little OBD dongle. You plug it into the diagnostic port of the car, and then you have an app on your phone. Choose the make and model of car. It guides you through where the diagnostic port is and where you need to plug the device in. So do that, and then you run the test. It takes about a minute or so, and then we give you a certificate that has on it all the key information that buyers are asking for. So the state of health of the battery, the remaining warranty on the battery from the manufacturer, and the real range that car will do under different scenarios, given the health of the battery, right? So you can think about how that might fit into your life and what it would be like in summer or winter, etc. So super simple. We email you the certificate. You can see it in the app. It's listed in the web platform, so you can see the history of all the tests you've ever done. Most of our customers will put the certificate in the image carousel of the vehicle listings, and those who get the best results sort of think about it in terms of the whole purchase funnel of the customer journey, right? So having information on their website, then putting it in the image carousel. We've also got one customer, Cambria, who have got a little clickable battery health widget in the search results, so you can see and as you were talking about doing it as a filter, it's a bit like that, and then put the certificates in the image carousel. And then customers even print them out and stick it in the window of the car, so you can see at all points in the process, transparently, what the condition of the battery is. Because it just helps you bring in more inquiries and hopefully close the sale faster. So we said we did some analysis, looked at every EV listed in the UK over the last 6 months, compared the EVs tested with our kit to every other EV sold in the UK, and the ones tested with our kit sold 7 days faster on average than all the others. So and that's market wide UK. So you can see that I think it just sort of adds that reassurance. There's this level of trust and transparency as well that just helps you kind of bring in more inquiries and hopefully close a sale in a sort of de-risked and transparent way.
With your history, Ollie, you've been obviously developer software and what have you. Have you not thought about building some sort of plugin from the app that goes onto a dealer's website to display the the certificate and everything nicely on a dealer's website, kind of like how like a code weavers or an iVendy calculator looks, you know. So it's just like that consistency across, rather than putting. I just think it's a little bit messy, just putting the photograph of it in the carousel. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd prefer it that way on my website if I was selling EVs.
Yeah, so we do that with a couple of businesses already, where like they basically access our certificates via API, or there's a little widget that basically displays it nicely on the listings. Yeah, super easy to do. Every business is slightly different in terms of how they want to use it in their marketing and what's right for them. Our certificates, they're like the ones that go in the image carousel are like specifically designed, like optimized for mobile and for that JPEG format. It's not like, a picture of a A4 PDF or anything. But I think the thinking is right? Is to think about like integrating it in a slick, nice way. So it's super easy for people to get that information, right? Like if you go to, I don't know, I've been to Auto Trader events and they're all about just like, the car is the start, right? Like, is their sort of saying, right? And just like putting up as much information out there to let people decide, and that seems to get results.
Ollie, can I ask as well, the dongle thing, so do dealers rent that from you? Do they buy it? And then when you do the report, how is that charged to a dealer? So if a dealer was interested in getting, your kit out at work? Yeah,
sure. So they buy the kit. You buy it, it's yours. So the kit itself is £95, and then we charge per vehicle. And for our smallest customers, you might just be doing like one or two a month on like pay as you go. It's £28.50 per vehicle, and that cost comes down with scale.
It's not dear then, really, is it?
No.
No, it's not. It's not dear. And realistically, how long does a test take? Is it literally just a couple of minutes? Is that quick?
Yeah. Anyone can do it. A couple of minutes. Yeah. So the idea, I didn't realize this when we first started the business, but like for us, it's really all about ease of use, right? Like I get that like dealers are busy people, right? And there's like different people in the business who might need to do it. And like we're another job for people to do. So like we're all about trying to make it easy and fast, because I know that like time is precious, right?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
What about your marketplace, Ollie? Are you finding new businesses like yourself coming into the market? Is it becoming more competitive? So how much that you charge per thing? Is there like new people popping up and saying, well, we do the same thing, we only charge this? Or is there just maybe like one or two or three companies around it doing what you do?
Yeah, so there's not many. There's a couple of others. I think the trouble is that like, and there's also the big OEM diagnostics, right? Like your sort of main dealer, like for a technician sort of thing that costs like, thousands of thousands. So that's another sort of area. But because our product is not really something that you can like sit down and get ChatGPT to like make a automotive diagnostic tool, there's like quite a lot of work that goes into it, because you sort of need like different proprietary encodings for every different make and model of car. So it's actually quite hard to build. So we haven't really seen much in the way of like new companies spring up, at least in the last 12 months, doing this. I mean, like, have you guys heard of Zipcar? It just was
just gone back up there.
Not really.
Yeah, it was a London, mostly focused in London and the US. So they just shut down, but I was sort of a bit of an RIP to Zipcar, because I've actually been banned from Zipcar, because when we first when we first started the business, I started with nothing, right? And Zipcar let you rent cars by the minute, and so in London, like they had this mandate where a load of the Zipcars had to be electric, and so I was like renting all these cars, and then I got this email from Zipcar saying, Mr. Phillpott, it looks like you're taking a number of journeys and not going anywhere, or taking only very short trips. So I think they thought I was like, I don't know, like selling drugs out of their cars, or like using it for like prostitution or something. So I've been banned.
Which neither that you can confirm is true.
I absolutely deny both of those.
Started their downfall.
But the point was that, like, you know, that was what got started, right? Because understanding every different make and model of car is like a difficult thing to do. And so because I was like, you know, fairly technical, I was in the cars, like testing them, and obviously I was testing these cars' batteries. I wasn't like doing anything dodgy in the car. But so it's quite hard to like basically do this. So we haven't seen that many businesses out there. You can't just like sort of start up.
I was going to say information must be key. The sort of the data backup is the key element of it, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's all like proprietary encodings from all the manufacturers, right? So essentially, like we sort of sum up what we do. We're a bit like having all the different manufacturer diagnostics, but in a really easy to use app, then that gives you a very consumer friendly like output. Essentially, that's sort of like how I would sort of oversimplify what we do.
How many dealers you got using the products at the moment then?
Hundreds of rooftops. I don't know, honestly. Customer count, like hundreds.
When you first started, obviously the motor trade's traditionally not always quick to adopt the new things. You know, how hard was it to convince the first few dealers to actually, you know, plug the devices in their cars and get started?
Yeah, it was hard, man. Like, because I think now it's easier because we've like actually looked at the whole market data and we've proved that like cars sell faster, and that, you know, we help de-risk the purchase as well. But initially, like, you really got to evangelize it, right, and like get people who kind of believe in things. So like, we were lucky; we had a couple of early big customers. So Carbase, for example, in the Southwest. One of our early customers, and like I think just got it from the start, right? They were like, you know, all about transparency, want to do right by the customer. And now like the market has changed a bit. The number one reason, so we are like, most of our business at the moment is sort of like run off just like inbound demand coming into us, and the number one reason that dealers cite in terms of wanting a solution like ours is that like basically consumers are asking about the condition of the battery when they're inquiring about the car, and that's like the number one question they're getting. So they just need a way to be able to answer that for people. So in the last 12 months, I think the market has changed a bit, and some of that, as I say, some of that is luck for us, right? We've been fortunate to have benefited from that.
And since you've had like this product out into dealers, does any sort of real world use surprise you? Like anything that you didn't expect? Has any dealers got back to you and says, "Oh, this is great," or "I didn't expect it to do this," or, you know, like, is there anything come out that you weren't thinking about?
I think we hadn't anticipated people using it in terms of when they're buying the car, or like you know, initially we'd always thought it'd be useful for both, but like you know, going out and actually doing the job of a buyer, right? Like, I think is something that's also you want to know before you spend money. I obviously came at it initially from the point of view of a consumer, right? Like when I'm buying the car, I want to know. So that, and then I think like the importance of the fact it could be done by anyone is something I hadn't fully appreciated when we started, right? Is that like there might be a salesperson who needs to use our tool, or it might be a valeter, or it might be like, you know, if it's a small dealership, it's like it's the owner. Like it just needs to fit into any operational process and kind of be done by anyone, because like, you know, workshops and technicians are generally need to be busy all the time, right? With like and a lot of like companies will want a view on that car's battery because it's the, you know, the main expensive component in the vehicle before they invest more money and that vehicle gets further down the process. So yeah, we definitely learned a lot about like what dealers need.
Can I ask, Ollie, do you think like obviously we've got workshops, we've got like loads of diagnostic equipment, Bosch KTS, Snap-on, all these different ones, and these companies are huge. Do you not think they would look at this and say, there's a gap in the market, and what we should do is our Snap-on, whatever they call the machine, I don't know now, I'm out of touch, but where they'd say, well, our new latest machine, our Diag machine, does programs this, it does that, and it reads battery health checks as well. Do you think, what would be the separation where your bit of kit and your expertise does that? Do you not see that, they would dip their toe in there and think, well, we need to catch up with this and do it?
They might do. I mean, like we all got to live with that, right? Like, and I think where we'll stay pretty squarely focused is on electric vehicle batteries and making the test super easy and super fast. I think like we're a pretty, like, as a business, I mean, like I've always wanted to run the business like aggressively lean, basically, in terms of people, because I think we can move faster. And if we stay kind of quite focused, like we can be really good at EV batteries and making it super easy and super fast so anyone can do it, and also producing the results in like a very consumer friendly way, right? And I think some of these like bigger, slower moving engineering organizations, we just don't come up against them, to be honest. Like I think maybe they will wake up to it at some point, but there's going to be a lot of EVs out there, right? So like, and competition is not a bad thing, right? Like keeps us on our toes and like means that ultimately you guys get better service and and the market gets what it needs. So like I don't think we're too worried about it, to be honest. Like the bigger problem for us is like just getting the message out there, like that, like actually this is something people care about, super easy to do, and helps you when you're buying, helps you when you're selling.
We had an e-tron the other week, and we've never been asked for, but the guy who bought it says, "Oh, I'll buy it if I can do a battery health check." And the Bosch sent out what we've got. We asked them, we've got the Bosch KTS equipment, and we spoke to Steve from Bosch, who's like our area account manager. And we said, "Look, does this KTS, does this do the health check?" And he says, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine. We'll do it. Can you print off a report?" Yeah, you can do all that. And when we tried to do it on this Audi e-tron, it wouldn't do it at all. So it failed on the first hurdle. Which yours would have done that, I would imagine. And then we had a nightmare trying to I don't know who did the health check in the finish, but it dragged on. So there mustn't have been anybody local to us who could have plugged it into the health check.
Yeah, and I think for us as well is like that's what I mean in terms of saying like this is literally all we do as a company is like specialists. So it's kind of got to work, right? Like
you'd hope so.
Yeah. And so like if certificates don't generate or we don't support, like, so we purely focus on supporting as many different makes and models of car as we can, generally more than those, the Bosches of the world and stuff like that, right? Because we're just focused on this one thing, and doing it in a way that like anyone can do on an app, right? So like you don't need to be a trained technician, and then there's that sprinkling of like having a consumer friendly output that isn't like bamboozling people with like all these numbers that they don't understand, or is a sort of like not something that you can like really present in a marketable way. So yeah, we think that's enough for us for now.
I think your tool would work well for transport companies when, the likes of CarWow and Motorway, and they're going to collect cars for people. If they carried that little dongle and they run the battery health check, because otherwise you're just trusting the customer's word for it. And then, it'd give you the battery health check at, say, I don't know, 80% or 70%. You can either walk away from the vehicle or you'd have to renegotiate it. But at the minute, the dealer's buying it blind. They don't really know the state of the battery. So it would be worth, for dealers all over the country using like some Motorway and CarWow to do that, I would imagine.
Yeah, because as I said, you don't, if you get one issue, it can be kind of pretty painful financially, right? You're in the thousands, and they're rare. But like,
if a dealer was going to do it anyway and provide the health check with the car they're selling, if they bought it in that way, they're only still going to do the one battery health check because it's on their system and they've got it, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. You want it as early in the process as possible, probably.
Obviously, our audience is mainly independent motor dealers. Obviously, we do have people from main agents and what have you, and bigger franchise dealers watching the show, but we've also got quite a few workshops or people that run workshops or own workshops watch the podcast. I've spoken to a couple of them, and I'm just thinking, I take it your target audience has been sort of like the dealers first and foremost, but there's a huge gap in the market really as well to go after workshop operator owners as well, who could offer this out as a service to someone who wants to check the battery on their car or who wants to sell their car, and they need to provide that proof of how good the battery is. Are you seeing lots of that as well?
Yeah, we've got several actually, and I think part of it as well is that, like, if you take your car to the main dealer, like sometimes they may say, because a lot of consumers reach out to us being like, can you guys test my car's battery? And we haven't, I haven't got the operational footprint to do that, right? Like there's a lot of consumers who are asking for it. And so anyone, any business who wants to offer this out as a service to consumers, like, we're sort of keen to work with, right? Because people are asking for it, and if you go to the main dealer, a lot of the time they might not actually even be able to do it, or like you said, Scott, to be able to produce like a nice certificate or get the information back to people in an easy way, or if they can, it's like, I don't know, it might be 200 quid. So like, absolutely, like, Stephen, I think it's a like really good opportunity, especially just to get this. We want this information to be everywhere, right? Like, because it's so fundamental to the value of the car that, like, it kind of needs to be ubiquitous. So repair shops are a big part of the solution, I think.
I wonder if they've made it part of an MOT. Because there's certain parts of an MOT what they test on the car.
I bet you would.
Yeah, it's part of the MOT.
Yeah.
Could I invest, Ollie, early if that's going to happen?
If the Department of Transport's listening.
I'll let you know if that, like, we get a heads up from the government. I get Rachel Reed tap me on the shoulder, and then I'll let you know. I would like that. I mean, it would make sense, I think, like, to have the central, government database where this is like transparently available, right? As far as we understand, there's no appetite for it in government at the moment. Like, they're busy with other stuff, basically.
It would be like an advisory, wouldn't it? So if it was a batteries at 70%, you would just have it as an advisory. You wouldn't fail the MOT, but it would just be highlighted on the MOT.
Yeah, and then there would be there'd be some cases where, like, you might need a repair, right? Like if there's like an issue with a cell, or like some faults that need addressing. But yeah, I think you can imagine there's a lot of people in, like, I don't know, Department for Transport who would need to, like, put together a lot of policy for that to happen. So we tried pushing it, but no luck so far.
Don't give up.
So let's keep banging the drum, guys, because then you'll
keep doing it.
You'll be doing me a favour.
Ollie, obviously time's running on a little bit, but just before we go, sure there's a lot of dealers still watching the show who are really interested in the product that you're providing. If they wanted to know more, or if they want an easy way to get started, how do they go about doing that and getting set up with yourself?
So you just drop us a message on our website, which is www.generational.ac, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on there. That'd be the two easiest ways. Or my email address is oliver@generational.ac if you want to email me directly.
Great. Happy days. Oliver, thank you very much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it. I think you've got a good product, and when I do sort of start dipping my toe in the water, I'm sure I'll be on the phone. I think Scott might be actually after this. Yeah, we've had since we met Ollie at the AM. I mentioned it to a couple of the guys in the service department, but they like the idea of it, and I think the amount of cars we pick up, which we buy privately, and obviously it's only going in one direction. There's probably going to be more EVs coming, so I think it's a must to have the plug-in. It's a no-brainer on it. Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and it's just a cost what you're doing. You're better off knowing, if there's a fault with the battery, rather than buy a car and it's going to cost you, I don't know, 10 grand, or even write it off. I mean, so we had somebody on the podcast, and I think they were talking about Motability cars. I think there might have been like French ones or something, and they were like 12,000 quid. They were worth these small electric Motability cars. And they had problems with batteries, serious problems with batteries, where the batteries were like, I don't know, 6 or 8 grand or something to fix. So then the cars were potentially just write-offs. Yeah. Ouch. Ouch indeed. Ouch. Right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Ollie, thank you very much again for your time. Thanks everyone for watching home. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one, which will be our special Christmas edition of the DealerPod. So thanks everyone. Cheers, Ollie.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me.
See you,
Cheers,
mate.
Ollie.
Thank you.